Yeah, what's up guys, this is Astranox. In this video, we're gonna be going over the fight in Chapter 2, the battle 10-10. So if you don't want any spoiler, leave the video now. Maybe you wanna try it out by yourself, check out the story and all that. So anyway, so it's in Cidonia. I'll give you some time to actually, if you didn't get it yet, maybe you notice like, I don't wanna see this, I don't wanna see it. Well, you have time to leave. So, right, Cidonia in distorted dimension, right? Zone 10, and the battle is 10-10, Twisted Core. So I'm gonna be using a 3-star team. We got multiple things in that team that helps us throughout the fight. We got healing, of course. We got cleansing because the battle has quite a few debuffs, right? And we have this spell toward the enemy. We have defense down debuff to speed up the battle as well. We have single target damage as well as AoE damage, some cleave damage that will heal, that will attack the whole enemy team. So let's go in there, right? Okay, so the team that I'm using is this one. We will not bring any friend. Commander Lorena, LENA, Angelica, and Falconer Clury. So I've done this. I can do it on auto, no problem. But I will go through it manually so you guys can understand the battle mechanics, you know, better. And actually, like all the battles so far I've done was on auto, and I was just checking the skills, the passive of the boss, and I noticed that there's definitely an easy way to do this. And it's by using, you don't need this exact team, you just need these utilities. You need healing, cleansing, dispelling enemy buff or buffs. I would prefer enemy buffs. So Clury, she removes all buffs. Defense down debuff, you don't need that. You don't need as much damage as this, and the gear that I have on my heroes is not insane. This is just like a team for PvE, right? Most of these heroes, like Commander Lorena, I do use in raids. Falconer Clury, I just put some gear on her, some subpar gear. LENA, she's my speed farmer. I definitely recommend that you do build her. So let's actually stop the battle here. Okay, I mean stop the auto. We'll just go in the battle. When you first do this battle, I believe there might not be the first 2 waves. This actually happens at the start of the battle. You don't have any combat readiness, like barely any combat readiness. You might have noticed on the left side, the boss uses that. That's how he opens the battle. So right off the bat, we could use some healing, but we you can check here. You press on the sandglass, you can check the combat readiness of the enemy. Maybe you want to kill you know, one of the ad before the other one because it's about to go, right? You can see their numbers here on the left side. Number 2 is gonna go before the other ones, right? Let's actually just attack. So of course you wanna dual attack here, get lucky, but we got LENA. She can one-shot these ads. That's the thing. They have about 6,000 health. When she uses skill 3, she deals a ton of damage. You could soul burn to deal additional damage. If your damage is not at the same level, well, use the rest of your team to clean up, right? So the boss, if you don't take care of those ads, what happens is that the boss will eventually sacrifice them and receive a buff that cannot be dispelled for each one of them. So let's just continue to attack the boss. When you do miss the boss, or if you don't land a, well, when you miss, you will not land a critical hit. But when you don't land a critical hit, the boss will actually get combat readiness. You can see it here. When the caster suffers a non-critical hit, decreased damage suffered by 50%. Not only you're not landing a critical hit, you are dealing 50% less damage as well, and it increases the combat readiness of the boss by 15%. When the caster is inflicted with critical hit, deals additional damage on all enemies after attacking. So when the boss lands a critical hit, he will deal additional AoE damage toward your team. So right now he's got the crit chance reduction buff and the immunity buff for 2 turns. So we can use Clury's skill 3, and if you fail to remove one or both, maybe your effectiveness not high, maybe you get unlucky, the Yeah, you had to deal with the 15% innate resist in the game. Just restart the battle. You don't want this boss to have these buffs when he uses Gaze of Despair. There's a way to facilitate this whole battle, and it's to remove those buffs before he uses that and apply debuff immunity on your whole team by soul burning Angelic Montmorency's skill number 3 or using Angelica's skill 3 to apply immunity. But I do like Angelic Montmorency because she, versus Angelica, she's got some cleansing, right? For the whole team. Okay, so right now we have defense down debuff, and we can deal a ton of damage. We could, to be honest, like, looks like we're going to be dealing enough damage to trigger this Gaze of Despair right away. And we don't even have time to apply debuff immunity on the whole team and heal up. Because we have defense break. So you could soul burn skill 3 and then skill 1, but I won't do that because I want to slow down the battle so you can see what's going on better. I'll show my stats and my gear at the end of the video. So the boss at 40% will 40% or lower will use this skill. The End of All Life attacks all enemies, changing buffs into debuffs. Right, and decrease combat shrewdness by a random amount between 20 and 50%, penetrates the enemy's defense by 30% and by 50% when the enemy is debuffed. So yeah, he will change your buffs into debuffs. So yeah, and then your combat shrewdness is going to be reduced randomly between 20 and 50%. So you could be really unlucky. So that's why you might need to do this battle a few times if your gear is not quite there, or maybe it's just you get hit with some really bad luck. Some stuff just happens that just doesn't make sense. One of your hero does get taken down by maybe the ads are up, dual attack happens, and he keeps on targeting the same hero, something like that, etc. I would say your damage dealer should be at 10,000 health or a bit higher. Like if you're dead, you're not going to be dealing any damage. So it's not about like taking this boss down as fast as possible. It's about just surviving the mechanics, right? So right now we need to kind of like heal up. You want to save the skill number 3, your AoE. You save that for when the ads are up. Oh man, it's just so much damage. I'm gonna have to like redo this again. So he uses the End of All Life skill, his ultimate, right? Skill number 3, and there it is. So it doesn't deal that much damage, right? Doesn't deal that much damage. But the thing is, you know what? Applying the immunity on the whole team is for countering the Gaze of Despair, to counter the enable to be buff, debuff, and the decreased hit chance. So what you could do is use it for that point, but if you know you're going to be lowering the boss, he's going to be using the End of All Life, then you don't want buffs because he will convert your buffs into debuffs, and then he will reduce he will reduce combat shrewdness, but the problem is the penetration of defense. It's going to be 50% instead of 30%, and that might be the thing that kills your team, right? Or at least kills someone. So yeah, we could just like do it up here, do the soul burn, because he might be using the Gaze of Despair quite soon. He's not buffed though, with the crit chance reduction. But so far, I mean, this battle is very easy. It's just that when the debuffs start to pile up on your team, that's when it gets problematic, right? So right now, that was it. That was his Gaze of Despair. So if we didn't have debuff immunity, he would have applied enable to be buff debuff and decrease hit chance. So that's a problem. Decreased hit chance means you have a 50% chance of missing him. If you miss him, you don't land a critical hit. If you don't land a critical hit, that means, yeah, you're dealing 50% less damage from those attacks, and you're giving him 15% combat shrewdness. So he's able to go more often than your team, and then you won't be able to keep up, you won't be able to heal up, and that's going to be a massive problem because your heroes are going to start dying left and right, and you might not even be able to break the barrier. So that's why dispelling the buffs off of him, apply the debuff immunity before the Gaze of Despair is such a big deal. So, you know, you can always save the skill number 3 of your AoE damage dealer for the ads. But to be honest, like, after dealing with the ads at the start, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that because he is not summoning them. Where is it? fully resets the caster's skill cooldown at the start of the battle before granting an extra turn to activate the end of all life and summoning 3 Nitros of Hatred, right? And that is start of the battle. And then if the caster uses Gaze of Despair when their health is 40% or more, yeah, that's it. If the caster uses Gaze of Despair when their health is 40% or more, summons up to 3 Nitros of Hatred, and when the caster is not covered by a barrier, summons up to 1 Constorum of Revulsion. Nitros of Hatred is unaffected by elemental disadvantage when the caster's health is less than 40% after being attacked. Fully reset the caster's skill cooldown before granting an extra turn and going on a rampage. So that's it. When the caster's health is less than 40%, resets cooldown, and then he's gonna be using the End of All Life. So that could be a lot of damage, especially if you didn't stabilize the health of your team, especially if you you're low health, full of debuffs. That's definitely not a good time because he's going to be penetrating 50% of your defense instead of 30%. For each ally killed, grant the caster 1 random buff for 5 turns that cannot be dispelled. Damage suffered in 1 attack does not exceed 30% of max health. So if you don't take care of those adds, yeah, he's gonna get a buff for 5 turns that you cannot dispel, and that's a huge problem. That is a huge problem. That's why you need AoE attack, or you need at least to, you know, deal with these adds using single target attacks. So yeah, that's the boss. So let's go in there and have it on auto. We'll have it on auto, and you'll see the mechanics happening when things are not going so well because you maybe your cooldown wasn't ready, maybe you couldn't land a dispel on the decrease crit chance 50% buff for 2 turns and the immunity. Yeah, it can definitely be problematic. The thing is, I've done this battle even without relying on dispelling, and to be honest, you could just out heal him. You could just heal more than the damage he's dealing, and that's it. He's gonna be going more often than you if you don't deal with those debuffs. If you constantly miss him, you don't land a critical hit. So yeah, you can use the Guardian to deal extra damage. You're near the end, you lost your damage dealers, you just have your supports, then you can just use the Guardian to deal damage based on the target's max health. And yeah, like this Guardian that I'm using, Arcasis, Arky, he deals damage based on the target's max health, deals damage based on the whole team's attack, and also he gives you a buff of 20% crit chance and 20% attack increase. But the thing is, you don't really want buffs on your team when he's going to be dropping below 40% because he's going to be using the End of All Life, and that penetrate defense by 50% when the enemy is debuffed is definitely going to hurt you. When you gear your group, it's better to have health percentage over defense percentage because he penetrates defense. So at over 10,000 health on your damage dealers will definitely be very nice. So LENA right there on auto, she took care of those adds, so that's great. And now the boss is still buffed. We didn't land a critical hit here because the boss has decreased crit chance by 50% buff. So that's the problem. And now, no crit there, and then he's getting combativeness. He's got the barrier again now, and he still has those buffs for 2 turns. Let's just continue. Our cleanser is stunned, but it's okay. Now, are we gonna take those? Yes, we did take the crit chance reduction buff and the debuff immunity. Now he's using it. He's using his Gaze of Despair, and look at those debuffs. If you don't have the debuff immunity and you don't use the strategy that I'm talking about, you might be having some difficulties with those debuffs. But the thing is, if you could just try over and over, you might be lucky and you might be landing some critical hits and not be missing the boss if you're not maybe running a team that has some clans. Look at the stun. Those stun are happening because the stuff is not being taken care of. The debuffs are not being taken care of. And oh, that's it. Upon inflicting a critical hit, has 35% chance to stun all enemies for 1 turn. Yeah, that's all enemies. Maybe your whole team gets stunned. So he's using the end of all life again here. Let's see the damage on Angelica. She's got defense down debuff. Yeah, you see, it's quite a bit of damage. It is quite a bit of damage. And now, you see, he's got the frenzy buff too, and he's got some buffs that are not even like dispellable because he believe he did sacrifice maybe 2 ads to get those buffs, because this here at the end it says under 40% health when attack, reset cooldown, granting an extra turn going on a rampage, killing all surviving allies for each allied killed, grants the caster the random, like 1 random buff for 5 turns, and yeah, you got 3 adds up. That's 3 buffs that you can't remove for 3 turns. So the battle might get out of hand. You're debuffed. The boss is fully buffed, and you can't even dispel those buffs anymore. The barrier, you can't even go through it because your damage is not quite up there. So you see what's happening. The battle is dragging on and we can't do it. We just can't do it. But we do have souls. You could start off auto if your gear level, you feel confident with it, and then switch to manual. But if those ads get sacrificed and he gets those buffs, then you might be in trouble, right? You might be in trouble. So at this point here, you could be dealing some damage, and you know, if you don't need any healing from your supports, maybe your Clury, your Angelica, Montmorency, whoever the hero that you're using may be, you might be using instead the Guardian on their turn, so you can be dealing damage with your damage dealers plus with your support because you're calling the Guardian on their turn. So all that stuff together will allow you to just down the boss. But now you see what's happening when the battle is not being handled correctly, right? So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I'll be showing my stats and my gear here. But if you do what I've been saying, it's definitely gonna make it so much easier, and you won't need that much gear. You notice like when the boss starts getting those buffs, he like kind of snowballs and gets out of control. So you don't want to let him reach that point. So Angelica Montmorency, that's her stats. You want more health than defense on your support because of that penetrate 50% defense if he you know, hits you with when you have debuffs with his end of all life. So you don't need this type of gear. You don't need this Rod of Amaryllis. What you do need is just fight the boss, deal with the ads, have immunity before the Gaze of Destruction is called, and dispel his crit chance reduction and debuff immunity. That was Angelica Montmorency. Where is Commander Lorena here? That's her gear. You see her health, 11,000. I have a health percentage main stats ring on her. And you notice like how much damage it was, like an overkill on the first, when I was doing it manually, right? So that's definitely a ton, as she has self-memory imprint that gives her crit chance. So you can leave her with a you don't need 100% crit chance on her if you have that self-memory imprint. That's LENA. She's using, I mean, her gear is quite strong. She's my speed farmer. I do have this artifact on her because I didn't know what artifact to actually put on her. I usually have, maybe I'm using Daydream Joker because the target has a bunch of health, but the boss has like 60,000 something health, which it doesn't feel like Daydream Joker is going to be helping you that much. So it's better that you use some other artifacts. Hell's Fist, maybe you want to use like, well, Hell Cutter is very good for Commander Lorena. You could have Hell's Fist on the LENA, but you could be using 3-star artifacts. I mean, you can definitely just be using Daydream Joker, is going to give you more damage. You could use Prophetic candlestick to lower your cooldowns more often. But it looked to be like the ads are not showing up that often, so it's not so bad. I don't know if I showed all her gear, but she doesn't need that much speed. The damage dealers don't need that much speed. It's your support, your Clury, so you can have that skill 3 ready to dispel and hopefully maybe apply the defense break. That's definitely very nice when it does happen. And Angelica Montmorency and Clury. I did show her already, sorry. So Falconer, Clury, I mean, that's specialty changes that might take a while, but you need these tools. What I've been telling you, if you don't want that much gear going in that battle. So Aureus definitely, you know, increase the survival of your group, redirect damage onto your knight. So that's very good. Clury is definitely amazing for this fight. She has some sustain with her, you know, yeah, her constant self-healing here, and it also heals the team a bit. This weapon is not even enhanced yet. I can't wait to see how it's gonna roll. But yeah, I just threw some gear on her. Of course, like, these stats might be harder to obtain, but like I said, speed boots, speed set will definitely make things easier. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Astranox. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Press the bell icon to be notified whenever I release a new video. And check out my other videos. They should be showing up on the screen now. I got playlists of all sorts for PvE and PvP. Arena, Guild Wars, guys, Subsonic Tunes, and Abyss for 62+. So check those out if you haven't. Good luck with all you do. Stay safe out there. COVID-19 is no joke. I'm Astranox. Peace out for now.